Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. In this video I will teach you how to use the mouse wheel to scroll through items in your inventory HUD, and you can use the item that is currently selected. This tutorial is great if you are creating a game that has an inventory system and if you want to scroll through the inventory with mouse wheel and use those items. So let's get started. I'm going to use the third-person template. Now let's open the content drawer. And in widgets, I have a folder here. Right click and let's create a user interface. So widget blueprint, user widget. Let's name this player HUD. Open it up. Now let's put a canvas in our HUD. And for this we're going to use vertical box. And for the vertical box, we're going to use images inside. So select the vertical box and select size to content. Now select the image. And let's make this image 50 by 50. So this is going to be our spells. So we're going to use it for example. So let's name this spell1 underscore image. Now let's make 4 copies of it. Now with the image selected, we can Ctrl D to make a duplicate. And now from this second one, go to padding. And let's give it top padding of 50. This might be too much. Let's make it 20. That's enough. And now let's Ctrl D to make 2 more duplicates. So 1, 2. This is just for the visual representation. So this is going to be spell 1, spell 2, spell 3, and spell 4. So we can scroll through these items. So select the vertical box in the top right corner in the anchors. Select the middle left and hold down Ctrl and Shift and press the left click to snap it ideally in the middle. And from here we can make it a bit on the right. Let's say 30. Now the first item is going to be spell 1. So this is going to be spell 2 underscore image. And this is going to be spell 3. This is going to be spell 4. So compile and save. Now let's see how we can scroll through these items. Let's go to the third person map and open up the content drawer and find your player character. I have this third person character. Now you can right click and type event begin play. Now let's create this player HUD in our screen. So drag a pin and create widget. So our widget is player HUD. And compile and save. Now this is important thing to create this as a variable so we can use it afterwards. So promote to variable and name this player HUD. And from here, add to viewport. Now when you play the game, we're going to create this on our screen and we should see this on our screen. Now let's check it out. You see the spells are on the left side. Okay, exit the game now. Let's go back to our third person character. Now right click and type mouse wheel. So we need mouse wheel up and we need mouse wheel down. So mouse wheel down. So this is when you are scrolling up and this is when you are scrolling down with the mouse. Okay, now let's create a variable. So let's make this variable as an integer. And we can name this variable current spell. And let's make another variable. This is going to be first spell. And one more variable, last spell. And now we are going to need one more keyword import. So when you select a spell, we can use that spell. So right click, type keyboard. So when you select this keyboard input, click on this icon here and press any key to assign that button. If you press, for example, A, it's going to be A. If you click on this icon and press left click, it's going to assign that key. Okay, so from the scrolling, let's get the current spell. So drag and drop the current spell and get current spell. And let's compare this. We need to press equal. Now when you're scrolling down with your mouse wheel, when you're scrolling down, we are going to compare if we came to the last spell, which is this one. And that's spell 4, okay? So we need to see if we reached the last spell. So last spell, and the last spell is going to be 4, because we have 4 spells. So compile and save. And now right click, you can type branch, connect the condition. When you are scrolling down, if we reached the last spell, nothing will want to happen. But if you still have items to scroll, now we have to increase that spell, which means when you press scroll down, this is going to be +1, +1, +1. So to do that, get the current spell and we can increase it for 1. And then we are going to set the current spell. So set current spell. And then connect this with a false. So why it's false? Let's repeat again. When you scroll down, if you come to the last spell, which means it's a 4th spell here, that means nothing's gonna happen. So we want to stop scrolling, okay? But if you still have to scroll down, let's say if you come to 3, we want to increase it for 1. So we always, when you are scrolling, we are increasing for 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to our character. So that's why we are increasing for 1. And now we want this to show in our player HUD. So we want something to happen. You can highlight this or make it larger or make it active or inactive. Now let's select this. So I'm selecting 1. I'm holding down Control and selecting them all. Let's go to search and type enabled. So is enabled. Now if it's not enabled, so when you play the game, they're going to be a bit grayed out, you see, because they're not enabled. Now we want our default to be disabled, like this. So every time when you are scrolling, we are going to make this so enabled and the rest disabled. Now let's do that. Go to the event graph. We can delete all this, we don't need them. Now let's create a function. And we can call this function spells. And since we have spell 1, 2, 3, and 4 images, we can use them over here in our graph. Remember, if these are not variables, so when you select it here, if this is unchecked, you won't be able to see it over here. You see, now it's gone, the first one. So make sure this is a variable over here, is variable. And now we are going to see it here. Okay? Now drag and drop the spell and get, and from here set enabled. So connect this and this connect with the spells over here. So to make it more readable and more clear, select this and on the left side type spell 1. So that way we know this spell 1 image, it's this one, spell 1. Now let's repeat this for the rest of the spells. So we need 3 more because we have 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to select this and Control D, 1, 2, 3. Connect them all. And drag and drop spell 2. get, and this is enabled. Select, you can name it spell2. I will just double click here to make a reroute node to make it more clear. Let's make some more space. Now drag and drop the spell3 in the target. Do the same for this. Name it spell3. Another reroute node. And for the last one, spell4. Select it and rename it spell4. And make a reroute node to make it nice and readable. Okay, so compile and save. Now we need to call this function in order to work. We can connect it with another function. So go to functions and let's name this spell selected. You can select here and go to inputs and make this as an integer, because we need this integer to be connected with this one from the player character. And we can name this integer for something like scroll spells. Now from here, type switch. So switch on int. Now this will allow us to create multiple functionalities. So let's go to add pin. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4. We need one more because we are going to start from 1. You can right click on the default and remove execution pin. So we can use just this 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we are going to call this function. So the function is named spells. So drag and drop. And now when you select the first spell, we want this to be enabled. Now double click to enter this function, or you can have it here in the separate tab. When you check that box, we are going to enable spell 1 image. And now we want to do this for 2, 3, and 4. I'll just make a few more copies of this. So 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3, one more copy, 4. So make sure 1 to be checked here and the rest unchecked. So for 2, do the same, just enable the second one. So 3 and 4. So every time when you're choosing a spell, we are going to disable all the rest, but 1 is going to be enabled. And the same goes for the second, third, and fourth spell. So we are going to highlight the second one, and the rest are going to be grayed out. Now let's see how we can call this function. So let's go back to the third person character. And now because we have created a variable of our player HUD widget blueprint, get it. And now we are having access to our player HUD functions. So you can choose either of these. But we need to choose this one. So spell selected. From here, just type the name of the function. So spell selected. Now connect this integer with the scroll spells. Compile and save. Now let's recap. When you scroll down, when you reach the end of the spells, which means this is 4, and current spell is 0. When you reach the maximum spell, the last spell, you will stop scrolling. But if you have still items to scroll, we can add 1. So we are going to go to 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's start the game and to see what's going to happen. So I'm going to scroll down. I have highlighted the first one. So 2, 3, and 4. Now let's do this for the opposite, to scroll back up. Let's go back to our third person character. So get the current spell, and let's compare it, equal. Let's compare if we came to the first spell. Now hold down B and press left click to call a branch. You can connect this. Now when you scroll up, if you come to the first spell, you want to stop scrolling. But if you still have items to scroll up, you want to remove one. So get the current spell, copy and paste. And you can type minus. So -1. And we have to set the current spell. We have to connect with the false. And now with the spell selected, we can do the same thing here. Connect the return value. Now let's compile and save and play the game. Now when I scroll down, I have first, second, third, 4. I'm scrolling back up. But now there's a small issue. Now if I scroll one time down, it's not selecting because I will show you now why. If you go back to our third person character, now this is happening because we have to start from spell 1, because in every programming language, the number starts from 0. So on the left side, current spell needs to be 1, because we are starting from 1. First spell needs to be also 1. So this is the first spell. And the last spell is going to be 4, which means 4. Now let's play the game and to see what's going to happen. Now when I scroll down, I still go to second, and I scroll down again and again. Now I'm going to scroll back. It's working all properly. Now let's fix one more thing. I'm going to exit the game and start again. Now you see we don't know which spell is selected. So we want to start from 1. So how we can do that? Let's go back to our player HUD. Select the first one and type enabled. Simply enable it. So that way we know that we're going to start from this one. So when I start the game, the first one is enabled. When I scroll down, I'm selecting the rest. Now let's see how we can use this spell. Go back to our third person character. Now in order to use this selected spell, get the current spell, and from here switch on int. Connect the pressed, and from here we need inputs as much as we have spells or items. We can delete the default one, right click and remove execution pin, and you can start your code from 1. Now I'm going to copy and paste this one. Now right click and type print string. Depending on which index you are, based on the current spell, we're going to print that number. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now let's play the game. Now when I press left click, it's spell 1. When I press the second one, is spell 2, spell 3, and 4. If I go up 1, 3. So let's go back to the third person character. Delete all this. So every time when you're selecting a spell, let's say spell number 1 or item number 1, you can do the code from here. Let's say spawn actor from class. So you can spawn a projectile or something like that. And from item number 2, you can drop an item. Or from 3, something else. Number 4 could be healing or anything like that. So yeah, this is how we can use this scroll mouse button. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.